I wanted to ask a question about career. I'm 28 years old now. Ever since I was little, I've always felt different than other people, a lot more aware. Not these people in here because they're here for the same reason as me, but like people in general. And I've always hung out with older people than me, like 10 years older than me. And it took me in sort of a depression when I was younger that lasted until last year when I actually found your stuff. In the past year, I've made huge improvements in my life in various ways, and a lot of major things have happened that aren't necessarily good, but they don't bother me. You know, like I got separated this year, I got laid off, but I got a new job, and I live with one of my friends now, and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting off on a tangent, but
so life's changing.
Yes,
and that's fine with you.
Yeah, it'd be considered bad in some ways, but I don't get emotional about it. But since I was young, I've had that different feeling. I've had this nagging feeling inside, which I guess would be source or a higher self or something, telling me that I should be doing something special or, you know, whatever. I don't want to sound like I feel like I'm more important than anybody in the world or that I should be some special, you know, Jesus figure or anything like that. But I didn't want to go to college, and I fought with my parents about that, and I fought with a lot of different people about things I should do. And I've always been rebellious in that sense and done my own thing and felt way more aware than them about the world and how things go and or whatever. But because I've had that feeling coming from inside so strongly, it's caused before a severe depression of I don't want to be, you know, I deliver furniture right now, and I've always done hard labor because I didn't go to college. So I'm kind of in a place where I don't want to do what everybody else wants me to do, but I don't want to be 50 years old and doing hard labor either. And I feel like there's something out there that's really, really important because it nags me ever since I was young, but I can't get past it. And even though I made these improvements, and I can definitely tell that I've made improvements in the last year, I just don't know how to go about figuring out that, you know, because I've thought about going back to school or doing all these things, and it just doesn't feel right. But then again, I don't want to be, you know, working at McDonald's or nothing.
Well, you know that nagging feeling that you're talking about, that's what we were attempting to describe when there's who you are and what Source is agreeing with you about. That, you know, as you examine and explore and live contrast, you send rocket after rocket after rocket after rocket after rocket of desire and preference into your future vibrational escrow. And it accumulates, it amasses, it expands, it attracts into itself, and Source acknowledges it as yours, as you. And the longer you hold yourself vibrationally apart from it, the more emptiness you feel about it, because it continues to be and achieve and expand. And if you don't let yourself go there, then you have that sort of nagging feeling. And it isn't that there was something that you have been assigned that you're not fulfilling. It's that you're not letting yourself be what you have determined in your creative experience. We love hearing from you that you were so aware of your own internal desires that you at an early age were able to disregard, not easily, because there's a lot of people around you who really believe that they know better for you than you know for yourself. But as you hold tight to your idea of your wanting to choose, and now you consciously hook up with this guidance system that always lets you know, so now you work to release the yearning, you see. So your work over the next few days and weeks, maybe even months, is not about figuring out what to do that will satisfy you more. It's about how to feel about what you're doing. When you say things, and it's logical that you would, like, well, I didn't go to school and so I'm delivering furniture. What you're teaching yourself to mean, in other words, the vibration you're practicing, is that They were right because I didn't go to school. Now I've relegated myself to something less than I'm capable of or less than I really want to. And that's just not true. As we look into your world, there are many, many more who are satisfied in terms of what they're doing and in terms of their financial gaining who didn't go to school than who did. The majority of people who jumped through the hoops are now still bound by different hoops in a different setting. In other words, they jumped through the hoops of their parents, and then they jumped through the hoops of their school, and now they're employed, but they're jumping through the hoops of the employer, and they never felt free, you see.
Yeah, I've always agreed with that. I mean, I've never jumped through anybody's hoops, but it just, I say 90% of the time I feel like I'm right, but then I worry about that little 10% of I just don't want to be.
But you see, that's your work. Your work is when that worry comes up to talk it down, to talk yourself into greater relief, to acknowledge that some of the most financial geniuses and most contributing geniuses in your technology age did not go to college. They do not have degrees. In other words, they were self-taught. They had an idea and they gathered to them people who could contribute to that. In other words, what education is, let's talk about education in its purest, strictest description or form. What education is, when you think in terms of degrees, is someone else's identification of a standard and then subsequent gathering of materials for you to read. And then examining how well you comprehended what they gathered for you to read. It's so limited. And it is so directed at somebody else's idea of what you should be, not at your idea of what you should be. And there are a lot of people that are happy playing in that game, and we're certainly not critical of that game. We're just saying it's not the only game in town. There are people who are a perfect vibrational match to making their success and feeling their value in that way, who did, and it's perfect for them. And there are perfect people like yourself that it is not perfect for, and so you have chosen another path. And one path is not more right or more wrong than the other. You get to choose.
Okay. So there's just I never had any kind of, I know I create my own reality, but I never had, maybe I decided myself before something I would do. And that nagging feeling is just that I need to do something.
The nagging feeling is that you're not allowing yourself to be thought-wise in harmony with who you know you are. And it's just those simple thoughts like I should have done something different, or maybe my parents were right. And so as you stand in your now, rather than feeling uncomfortable about what might one day be, instead feel appreciation about what right now is and anticipate something else, while you know not what it will be, of coming in. And then say to yourself, what is perfect for me will always unfold. And meanwhile, I'm thankful for this, and I'm eager for the path that will unfold. And you will have a steady stream of new ideas that will occur to you. One thing that we can feel very powerfully within you, and we want to soothe it just a little bit. We want to say to you, you have been so determined to be independent, and we applaud you in a hearty way for that. But along with that determination to be independent, in the face of so many strong people that were determined that you follow their path, you've gotten pretty resistant about your right to do that. And it is that determination to have been right about your own choices and sort of still pushing against them thinking that they should have convinced you to do otherwise that's sort of stuck in your vibrational craw. That's the only thing that's holding you back from great ideas.
Okay.
So just soften that, appreciate them, say things to yourself about them. They were well-meaning. They were doing the best they knew how to do. They don't really understand. They don't know what makes me tick. They cannot possibly know. We've given you some good stuff here today about they could not possibly know the vibrational relationship between who I am and who I am becoming. And the world is so big and broad and out there before me. And I'm so looking forward to all of the possibilities. And that sort of attitude will just yield to you a never-ending unfolding. Jerry and Esther were sitting in their room just now watching the valet parking people running down the hill to get cars, and Jerry was watching the different running styles. One of them sort of jogged along the paved path, and one of them leaped down the concrete stairs. And it was fun to watch the leaper, because the stairs are not even. There are some stairs and then a long space, and then some stairs and then a long pace. So it was fun to watch him running and jumping and running and jumping and running and jumping. And it reminded Jerry of running down the trout streams for years. He used to just love to get on a trout stream and hold his fishing equipment in his hands and then just leap from rock to rock to rock to rock to rock, somehow always knowing that he was sure-footed and always knowing that the next rock would be there, and always it was. And we want you to realize that when you get tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and when you are in love with life and with yourself, and you're complimenting yourself on the choices that you've been making, there's always something else for you to leap for. You never have to stop in hesitation and worry. You never have to stop and say, oh, look at this mess I've gotten myself into. I'm out here and there's no place to go. It will never be like that for you. There will always be a viable, good-feeling trail that is unfolding before you. And you'll never get it done. You'll never say, well, my trail petered out. Or you'll never say, well, that's the end of the line for me. This independence that you feel so powerfully will serve you enormously well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.